Action 16 investigative reporter Dave Bohman is here to tell us how a bankrupt hospital may still be causing problems for former patients and workers.
Scott Marisa, we found hospital computers sold to the public at a recent auction that contained patient information and employee resumes. We've also seen pictures of personnel records with sensitive information that one woman says was set wide open at that auction for anyone to see.
How much private information lies inside the shutdown St. Catherine Medical Center near Ashland? Medical records sit in piles in offices and appear to be secure. But a woman who says she went to the hospital for a November 10th auction of office equipment and computers discovered other documents that should have been private.
There was files all over the place.
We've concealed her identity. She fears she'll be accused of a crime. But she says she wanted to prove her concerns. So she started taking pictures. This one shows what appear to be hospital files sitting unattended. Employee badges sat on a table. So did files that we later learn are records of hospital workers that may contain sensitive information.
Anyone could have got them and shoved them under their shirt if they wanted to and went out.
On top of this file is the record for a 14-year-old boy. His name is visible. So is his medical condition.
It's their personal business if they want people to know that stuff.
Because the hospital's in bankruptcy, a trustee appointed by the federal court is responsible for safeguarding private information. Trustee William Schwab of Lee-Heighton declined our request for an on-camera interview, but he sent us this statement as to how he believes sensitive information somehow became vulnerable.
Schwab says these records were stolen this spring and, quote, magically reappeared on the last day of the auction. Schwab adds the pictures were taken in areas of the hospital that had been locked or roped off from auction bidders. Not true, says the woman who took them.
And anybody could roam the building and go anywhere they wanted.
Schwab, the bankruptcy trustee, believes the documents were stolen and returned by someone with knowledge of the hospital layout and likely using an unrecovered set of master keys.
This isn't right.
The woman who took the pictures says she's never worked at St. Catherine's, and she says the unprotected files are only part of the trouble. Her friend bought this personal computer from the hospital at the auction. We turned it on. Pages of hospital business popped up on the screen. So did a resume. And this, the names and room numbers of patients in the senior behavioral health unit. She wonders what other private information might be out there.
That somebody had AIDS? Or some kind of blood disorder that's, drug related.
Trustee William Schwab emailed us about what was on the computer, claiming he received and continues to receive assurances that all machines had been wiped clean.
But obviously, at least one computer had not been wiped clean. Schwab would not name the company or the person hired to get rid of that sensitive information on the hospital computers. Meantime, the two women who bought computers at the hospital say there were at least 25 of them up for bidding at the auction. The one we showed you is the only one known to have private information. Scott Marisa, when I told PPL officials about the ad, the utility company couldn't believe it. At a time when good jobs are hard to find, someone falsely claiming to be PPL was gathering job seekers' personal information.
For 2 weeks on the classified ad site Craigslist, this ad appeared, customer service for PPL. It was looking for sharp individuals. It advised job seekers to dress professional, no jeans or sneakers. And it asked applicants to bring a copy of their Social Security card.
And we don't look for personal information like Social Security numbers. That's an obvious suspicious activity.
PPL spokesman Rich Beasley sees a red flag. So did a couple of women who badly needed a job and told Newswatch 16 about the ad. They didn't want to appear on camera, but despite their lack of work, both did not show up for a job interview at 703 East Market Street in Scranton because they sensed that office had nothing to do with PPL. They were right.
If somebody went into that office and said, I want to see PPL identification, they wouldn't have it because it's not a PPL operation.
At 703 East Market, there's no logo on the door, just a receptionist and some notes and a phone. And when we confronted a worker entering the building,
Do you work for the company here?
I don't want to be on camera.
he said little. But take a close look at the notebook he's carrying. That's the PPL logo.
But what concerns PPL officials most is someone is using their name. their reputation for stable employment and decent benefits at a time when good jobs are hard to find.
They're predators. They go after the people who are down on their luck. We're going to be aggressive in pursuing this because people are getting hurt.
A week after we made our request for an interview at 703 East Market Street, we went inside to see the manager. He wouldn't tell us who he is or what company he works for.
That's pretty much it. You guys are free to leave.
Thank you.
No problem.
But you haven't answered the question.
Please excuse.
Fraud?
Please excuse yourself, sir.
You're not denying that this is fraud.
There's no fraud. I already answered your questions.
No, you didn't
leave the
answer the
office.
question.
Thank
And the
you.
fact of the matter is customer service for PPL. Do you work for PPL?
Listen, we have
Do
no
you work
comment.
for PPL?
We have no comment. The problem has been fixed. Have a nice day.
Craigslist has a fraud department. We reported that already.
Shortly after PPL reported the post to Craigslist, that post was taken down. The people who occupy the office still won't say who they are, what they're doing, or why they spent 2 weeks advertising for customer service reps for PPL. Scott, Marisa? Scott, the man's name is Ken Witkowski. He has an arrest record in Luzerne, Lackawanna, and Susquehanna counties. 2 women who have come forward to tell their stories of how he cheated them are asking we only identify them by their first names because of what they call embarrassing chapters of their lives.
For the first time, Wendy from Brooklyn, Francine from New York, and Jill from Wayne County all came face to face with Ken Witkowski of Troop in court last week.
I see the devil. That's what I see.
These women say Witkowski romanced them all, and court records of a lawsuit show he owes the 3 a total of more than $172,000. Wendy's a sales professional, and Francine's a former Wall Street financier. Both are speaking out. Both met Ken Witkowski online, and both say their relationships quickly became romantic.
He wanted to have his own child. He said he was never married, and I was the girl of his dreams.
He portrayed himself as a man of God, wants to settle down, has never been married, has no kids.
No kids? Records show Witkowski has 9 children by 6 women and has been married 3 times. But Wendy and Francine say when they finally learned all that, they were almost broke.
He had wiped out my bank account. He'd maxed out credit cards I never even had before.
And Wendy, unfortunately, was just another victim in this long line of what we believe to be a serious pattern.
Dallas attorney Jonathan Comets represents Wendy and is trying to get Witkowski to pay her $69,000 awarded by a judge.
He has used the system to his advantage, but we believe that he's getting to the end.
The end because Witkowski tried to delay payment by filing bankruptcy in federal court twice last year. And in both cases, the records show the court dismissed Witkowski's bankruptcy filings.
These records show Francine, Wendy, an ex-girlfriend, and an ex-wife in Luzerne County of Witkowski's have joined banks and businesses seeking a total of almost $400,000 from him.
He uses women and insurance companies to fund his lifestyle.
Ken Witkowski is now trying to get money by filing 2 lawsuits of his own. One targets an insurance company for $325,000. Witkowski claims he's owed damages from this 2010 fire that gutted his business, the Goal Line Bar in Carbondale. Witkowski's also suing John Deere, claiming he suffered head injuries in a 2010 accident on this Lake Ariel property after he fell from a rented John Deere bulldozer. Our records check on Witkowski include 3 protection from abuse orders filed against him in Lackawanna County by 2 women. He's been arrested 6 times for bad checks. He faces charges of public drunkenness. And in one lawsuit, a woman claims he lied when he emailed her a bogus certificate claiming to be an ordained minister from the Universal Life Church.
I look at him and I see him for the monster.
Wendy and Francine still have pictures of the engagement rings from Ken Witkowski. But they remember most how hope turned to heartache when they learned of his past life and how the thousands they gave him to build a future vanished.
How did you get hooked up with a guy like this?
Ken Witkowski is a predator.
I thought he was my knight in shining armor.
Francine says she got engaged to that knight in shining armor in 2007. In May the next year, she gave birth to his daughter, and 2 months later, she planned a wedding when she learned Ken got married to another woman.
You feel stupid. No one warned me. No one said he was married before. No one said there was a whole group of other children around from different women.
It's a hard thing to warn somebody about him because he's convincing and he's good at it.
Ken, any comment?
As he left court last week, Witkowski had nothing to say.
Witkowski is involved in a number of criminal and civil court cases. The one you saw him in last week resulted from Wendy asking a judge to make sure that if Ken Witkowski wins any money in a lawsuit, she should get the first $70,000. Money she says he took through romance and deception. Scott? Scott Marisa, the person in charge of all the unemployment programs, Secretary of Labor and Industry Julia Harthway, admits there's a problem in Pennsylvania. Too many people using the phone to call in for help and not enough trained call center operators at the center in Harrisburg. But she says the problem can be fixed.
Philip Parker of New Columbia was laid off from his manufacturing job in September. That's when he started calling the state's toll-free number to begin getting help. And he says every day seemed like this.
Busy.
He tried again.
Still busy.
And again.
Busy. For 3 weeks it's been busy, and I never got through yet. So.
How many times do you think you've called?
Oh my God. Probably over 100 times.
We took his concerns to Pennsylvania's Labor and Industry Secretary Julia Harthway in Harrisburg. We asked her to call her department's own toll-free number.
I think you're either going to get, "May I help you?" or you're going to get a busy signal.
She heard what Philip Parker and thousands of other out-of-work Pennsylvanians hear.
It's a busy signal. Believe us, we want this system to run smoothly. We don't want individuals out there unable to get through.
Secretary Harthway says when the federal government cut $30 million in state aid to the unemployment program, it forced a cut in call center operators.
Philip Parker said he's so frustrated, he imagined a call center here in Harrisburg with one operator and a bunch of phones off the hook. That's not quite the case.
We found about a dozen workers handling unemployment claims, and Secretary Harthway says more help is on the way. More than 100 additional temporary call center operators will be brought in to help this week. But Harthway says that alone won't solve the crisis.
We need cooperation here.
Cooperation. Harthway says more people need to apply, renew, and get questions answered online, and avoid using the toll-free line unless a call is the only option.
We cannot afford to have the resources of an individual available on the phone for everyone who has a question.
Philip Parker says he needs to use the phone because he doesn't have computer access. And living in a rural part of Union County, a drive to a crowded CareerLink center can be costly, with gas nearly $4 a gallon. When we left him Tuesday, he made one more call to the toll-free number.
Now, Secretary Harthway says those who absolutely have to use the phone need to know this. It is easier to get through to the call center in Harrisburg later in the day, toward the end of business, than it is in the morning or early afternoon. It's also easier to get through toward the end of the week than the beginning of the week, and it's easier to get through on a landline than a cell phone, though no one at Labor and Industry seems to know why. But she also says those who are unemployed looking to renew their benefits or file for benefits should try to use a computer, use a friend's computer if possible, even go to the public library, because the Secretary of Labor and Industry stresses that if more people don't use the computer and continue to use the phone, this problem could persist for quite some time. Dave Bohman, Newswatch 16, reporting live in downtown Scranton.
Teen investigative reporter Dave Bohman is here with his special assignment report, The Faces of Meth.
Scott Marisa, some of these pictures are chilling. Before and after pictures that show how one drug can rob people of their health and their youth.
When police raid a suspected meth lab, they wear hazmat suits to protect themselves from the toxic chemicals of this homemade drug. And yet, meth users snort, smoke, even inject themselves with these same chemicals.
It's dirty.
Mike is the first name of this recovering meth addict. We've concealed his identity at the request of his drug counselor. But Mike wants to warn people about the drug he says sent him on 7-day binges. The drug he calls dirty.
I contracted hepatitis C, and that tears me up quite a bit.
Mike says meth has torn up many lives in his hometown of Berwick. The Columbia County Borough is still gripped by more than a decade of what some call a meth epidemic. And mugshots from the Columbia County Jail help tell some of the people's stories. This woman, first arrested at age 36, looks like this at age 40. Police arrested this man in 2011. At another arrest a year later, he appears much older and gaunt. This woman from Berwick appeared youthful in 2004. A 2007 mugshot shows obvious changes, and then there's this booking photo from 2011. The photo of this woman was taken in 2009. This is a mugshot of her from 2010. And this is her booking photo after her arrest on meth possession charges late last year.
I mean, you're shooting everything from sulfuric acid to Coleman lantern fluid. And that's what's destroying people.
You can see it a mile away. They look pathetic. You see the red blotches on their face. You see the gaunt look.
Judge Tom James runs the drug court in Columbia County. He's seen countless meth users fill his courtroom in the last few years. The judge tries to get them treatment, but he says many users fail to stay clean.
When a meth addict returns to Judge James's courtroom, he often notices a physical deterioration, but he notices something else.
There is a sadness, and I think they know that they've been caught in this web. And with the addiction, you don't know how to get out of it.
Giving up the will to live, yeah, that's probably the best way to describe it.
After more than a decade of meth abuse, Mike is trying to stay clean. And he hopes those tempted by the drug will look at how it changes a user's appearance and then say no to meth.
And those before and after pictures only show what happens to meth users on the outside. Studies show long-term meth users often lose short-term memory. In some cases, they even experience the kind of shaking that's similar to people with Parkinson's disease. And this from meth users in their 20s. Scott Marisa, the owner of the team that was supposed to play here, claims the team sold more than 1,000 season tickets. Well, the fans were supposed to get refunds, but tonight, many of these season ticket holders say they still haven't received their refunds.
May 11th, 2011.
It's a fast-paced, high-scoring, hard-hitting.
Sports marketing executive Jim Jennings announced his pro lacrosse team will be the first in a new league. It will play its home games at the Mohegan Sun Arena. Jennings later names the team the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Shamrocks.
The best players there will be coming and playing in our league.
It was something new, it was interesting, so it was like exciting.
Sports fan James Orr of Scranton shelled out $309 for a pair of season tickets. He couldn't wait for the Shamrocks to start play in February 2011. But last fall, the Shamrocks announced it was delaying the start of its season.
I read in the paper that they changed the dates from, January, February, March to September, and we don't have the dates available.
Mohegan Sun General Manager Rebecca Bonnevier says the team also failed to meet other lease requirements. So this February, the arena booted the Shamrocks before the team even played a game. In a news release, the Shamrocks promised full refund to season ticket holders. James Orr says he contacted the team and got this response.
At the end of February, we're going to send the refund, and don't worry about it. We got it all taken care of.
February passed. Orr's refund from the Shamrocks never came. And now when you call the team about refunds,
the number you have reached is not in service.
So now James Orr fears he's out $300 spent on season tickets for a lacrosse team that'll never play here, and all he has to show for his investment is this souvenir Shamrocks lacrosse hat.
Paperwork shows Shamrocks owner Jim Jennings is based in this building in Easton and ran the team through his company, Water Bucket Media. But when we got to Water Bucket Media's listed offices, we found the doors shut and obviously the landlord refurbishing it for a new tenant. James Orr kept trying to get his money back. He eventually reached Jennings by email. March 29th, Jennings wrote, "We will be sending the check out next week." April 9th, Jennings wrote, "You will have it next week." It's May. Orr still has no refund.
Now they're at the point of they're just ignoring me.
Jennings emailed us back, writing, quote, "We are anticipating receiving payment next week from the league, and everyone that bought tickets will be refunded."
Jennings added there are, quote, about 12 season ticket holders who still have not been paid. He also added the team that was supposed to play here is going to make a go of it, the same team in the Lehigh Valley sometime later this year or next.